served here, 10 names in total. Only 2 of them were actually killed in action. Those are Second Lieutenant Young and Airman Second Class Taylor.
Were many of the others, did they die in training? Or?
Yes, the biggest killer of all was training, because it was such an unknown profession at the time. It was brand new, and people didn't really know how an aircraft worked, let alone how to fly one. So many were killed due to their lack of experience. And also many of the instructors were war-weary pilots sent back from the Western Front who really weren't in the mood for teaching more young men to go and die. So they gave it a half-hearted approach, to say the least.
Wow.
Getting back, the Second Lieutenant Young and Second Class Taylor were actually intercepting a group of German Gotha bombers over the Thames.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the British destroyer stationed on the Thames just below thought that they were an enemy aircraft, and they were actually killed in a friendly fire incident.
Wow.
Young's body was never recovered. Taylor was, but he died later of his wounds. They were 19 years old and 17 years old, respectively.
So how long does it take for these buildings to be redone, these ones that they're working on?
So we plan on hopefully having all these refurbished within 10 years. But obviously funding is important, and also having the technical trades as well available, because these buildings are listed and they have to be perfect as they were. You can see over there at the moment our officers' mess is currently being
New
refurbished.
buildings come into sight. Okay, which is the officers' mess?
So the one in the far corner, the very big building there,
Yeah.
that would have been the equivalent of a 5-star hotel. It was very posh, because obviously many of these men came from very posh, educated backgrounds.
Okay.
So they would have had the luxuries of a tennis court, pool tables,
Wow.
gramophones, drinking cabinets obviously, and it would have been very comfortable in there.
Well, let's check out the airman's mess.
Yep.
I'll bet this is not like a 5-star hotel.
No, well, as you can tell, the airman's mess wasn't designed to be as comfortable as the officer's mess,
Wait.
because airmen were of a lower class.
Can we actually, before we go in there, can we actually take a look at the latrines? Is that cool? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So these are our original First World War latrines over here.
I was hoping you'd say that.
And as you may find quite amusing, is we have a picture of the Kaiser in there.
And does the other one have Haig?
No, nobody felt actually that badly about Haig at that time. That came later.
Okay.
But the Kaiser, they definitely had some strong feelings about him,
Oh.
as you can tell by his placement.
too. Yeah.
Also, we've added newspaper for toilet paper.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so airman's mess.
Yes. So this was recently refurbished by our volunteers here.
Yeah.
This would have been mainly benches and tables, very practical, very Spartan again, because the airmen didn't deserve, obviously, the high quality of the officers enjoyed.
So here in the airman's mess, could it accommodate all of the airmen at once, or would somebody be asleep, or somebody would be on a?
Well, yes, there would be different shifts as to when they would eat, and they'd have different times, because obviously this is a site that was in operation 24 hours a day, so they all couldn't eat at once, obviously.
And how many airmen were there when the base was at full capacity?
So at its height in 1919, there would have been around about 300 different members of staff, airmen, women, pilots all included.
And now this right here, which we'll back away from, what's this?
So this is our biggest feature. This is our water tower. You can see from the brick at the top, it's newly refurbished. It had a tree growing out of it originally, but this is where rainwater would have been collected, and because it's quite an isolated area, it needed its own supply of water.
Oh yeah, sure.
So this would have been purely for washing and other amenities rather than anything to do with the planes.
But what gauge was it?
Oh, right.
I had to ask. He
Yeah.
said somebody once asked him that, and neither of us know.
Don't make me swear on camera.
Neither of
Yeah.
us knows what that means. If you look out to here's where they would take off and fly from. Now, this is an aerodrome. It's not an airfield, meaning that there are no runways. So you could take off in any direction, which was important then because these planes were, made out of chicken wire and plaster, and wind was a big issue. So you could take off whichever direction the wind was coming from, you
Yes.
could still actually take off and fly on your missions, and that's really important.
That's absolutely true. And you had to always take off into the wind itself.
Yeah.
So we have a few air socks around here giving the direction of the wind where it's coming from.
Yeah, there's one.
And it also has to be bore in mind that this is completely grass, because these planes had no braking system. Their main brake was the wooden skid at the back, which would dig into the earth and slow the plane down.
Right?
So it was incredibly dangerous even landing.
Yeah, sure. Now, we heard earlier today that somewhere out there underneath the grass is still the Stowe-Maury. It says that written in big white letters, chalk letters. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, it was very difficult to navigate in those days, obviously. So Stowe-Maury's was written in big chalk letters, a bit like the Hollywood sign out there. And also there was a white outline of a Gotha bomber, and that was for training purposes. They would try to attack and strafe the Gotha bomber
for
to
target
try and
practice.
perfect their machine gunning.
And those you can still see. He said you can see them if you fly over with heat imaging equipment.
That's
but they're
right,
under
yes.
they're under the ground today. I think
Yes.
it's really fascinating that. Okay, so the fuel store.
Yes, so you may have noticed that there's no roof on this,
Right.
and that's for a very important reason. In the event of an explosion, you want the explosion to be able to travel straight upwards. So if you have a roof on, it's just going to cause more damage to the surrounding buildings.
Okay.
The only problem with this, though, is it left it quite exposed to the elements. Sure. And you can imagine in a time when everybody smoked and had cigarettes and that, it was quite a health hazard and wouldn't really live up to today's health and safety regulations.
Okay. Well, let's move along, shall we? Okay, now this is them setting up for tomorrow and everything.
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Okay, but the building's still
Yeah,
Royal Engineers.
the building that was recently refurbished, you can see the new windows, brand new roof, that was English heritage.
Okay.
And the Royal Engineers played a crucial role here, as most of the aeroplanes had to be maintained, kept in working order. So the pilots would really put their lives in the hands of the Royal Engineers who worked here 24 hours a day, 7 days
Yeah.
a week. So an incredibly important job there.
I guess the planes were gone over every single day, basically.
Yes, yes, and bearing in mind how flimsy and fragile these planes were, they needed constant care and attention
Oh,
to
yeah.
keep them in the sky.
I mean, just one tear in the canvas and that could
That's it, yeah, it needs a whole new canvas or even a splintered piece of wood that needs new pieces of timber to restructure it again.
And the blacksmith in the car?
Yeah, so the car, we would have had quite a few vehicles here, as we'll see more at the motor transport shed up here. And the blacksmith, you can probably guess, wasn't actually used for horses. It would have been used for aircraft parts, mending the machines that the Royal Engineers would use on the aircrafts themselves. You can also notice that the outer wall with the blacksmith is brand new. And that's because after the end of the First World War, nobody had thought to tell the Germans that this airfield was no longer in use. So in 1940, the Luftwaffe actually bombed this area quite severely, but only the blacksmith outer wall was damaged, so they weren't particularly accurate.
So they just said, "Oh, we got maps there. This is where those landings are."
They saw an airfield and no aircraft, but assumed that they were hidden somewhere.
Well, you lost a wall.
Yes.
Curse you. And the ambulance, which is not an ambulance, you say?
No, this is perhaps our more morbid part of the tour.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen who are fans of morbidity, here we go.
Yes, you maybe noticed that there are actually vents at the top of this building, and that's because it was primarily used as a mortuary.
Right.
We had quite a few flying accidents here, as we saw at the memorial earlier. This is where the pilots would have been brought first to keep their bodies stored before they were buried nearby at the churchyard in Stowe-Maury's.
An ambulance sounds nicer than mortuary.
Yeah, it's particularly nicer for visitors who are not confronted by death instantaneously.
Okay. Now this has an interesting name, the Dope Workshop.
Yeah, there is no drug smuggling operation going on here, I promise.
Well, if there was, they probably wouldn't advertise it.
No, that's quite true. But you're right, this is where the canvas was put on the wings of the plane.
Right.
Because the plane was so flimsy, it was made of basically wood canvas, and the only metal we'd really find would be around the fuselage and the engine. That's it, no protection for the pilot whatsoever. But this is where the canvas was shrunk onto the wooden frame of the plane, and they did that with a chemical substance called dope. But this was a very highly toxic chemical and was hallucinogenic also, and people who worked in there often complained of collapsing and passing out because of it. It was so thick and heavy, there's actually a vent at the back of the building where the chemical substance would sink to the floor and roll out of the gutters.
So the vent's at the bottom, not
at the
top.
bottom, that's right, yeah. The chimney at the top is utterly useless.
And is that where dope and common usage comes from?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
And all here is our engine workshop, which is now our main museum that you enter when you arrive.
Okay.
And we also have another one of our vehicles here we affectionately named Beryl.
Beryl.
That's right, after one of our trustees at the museum.
Okay.
And if you look over here to your right, you'll be able to see the motor transport sheds.
Okay, cool.
And this is where we would have kept all our vehicles, obviously,
Okay.
given the name. But also there we have many photographs from the time suggesting that here we also used to hold tea parties for the locals. And we would also try to drum up revenue for war bonds, the war bond drive, to buy more planes to keep in the air on the Western Front.
And how did they get along with the locals? Was there a lot of contact, or was it just things like this?
There was an incredible amount of contact. The local pub was frequently used by the pilots and the airmen. A lot of the women who worked here were sourced locally as well. And the sports days here that they held to raise money for the war effort were incredibly popular with the local populace also.
Well, Rory, thank you very much for taking the time to show us all that.
Absolute pleasure.
And well, I thought that was really fascinating, and I'm sure you guys learned a bunch. And if you want to learn even more, you should definitely come to Stow-Marie's Aerodrome. It's only, what, 45, 50 minutes from London?
Perhaps less than that.
And it's close to Stansted Airport anyway.
Absolutely.
So you can fly in, and there's all those cheap flights from all over Europe to Stansted. So we'll see all of you here next time we're here, which Flo will tell you about, won't you, Flo?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be back again. And if you'd like to see our episode about Bloody April, which was very much airplane related, you can click right here in front of Rory for that. See you soon.
Greetings all. When you say A7V, you normally think of the Sturmpanzerwagen, Germany's first tank, basically. It actually was a name for a family of vehicles. It's almost a modular design. You take the same chassis and you can fit all sorts of different cargo compartments on top. And one of those compartments would be an armored compartment. Or however, most of the vehicles to be built were going to be in other variants, mainly cross-country transports. However, cross-country transports are not particularly cool, and they don't come with the tag of being the first German blank. So the tank is, the variant that gets all the attention. Now, there's a couple of catches with doing it proper inside the hatch on an A7V. The first is that only one exists. It's in Australia. How the Aussies ended up nicking it, I don't know, but it's a long way to go for a single vehicle, and they're not going to make any money on it at all. Honestly, I don't make much money on the YouTube at all, but if I'm trying to at least break even, I'm doing okay. Beside the point. Either way, being the one remaining example and quite old and fragile, I am suspicious that it will actually let me go in and crawl around it. So what I have done is come here to the Deutsches Panzermuseum in Munster, which is about an hour south of Hamburg, and I have to keep saying that because there's more than one Munster in Germany, and you will be amazed how many people go to the wrong one. I met a couple of blokes who did that yesterday. And this is a replica. It's as good a replica as they can make using Mephisto, the survivor in Australia, as the prototype, together with photographic evidence. I mean, it is the German Panzermuseum, so if any records exist, these folks have it. So it's not 100%, it's not the 21st vehicle of the 20 vehicle line, but it's pretty close. Secondly, the other reason not to do a full inside hatch is there are 20 places in here. The minimum crew is 18. I am not going to go through each and every place. What I am going to do is just give you an idea of the design of the vehicle, because frankly people don't think about it very much, and we've already covered the Mark IV on another channel. So A7V it is. So I'll start off with the common part, the suspension and running gear. As you can see, the running gear is effectively 3 bogies. These bogies are full width, and I mean, looking at them, they almost remind you a little bit of railway bogies for 2 reasons. Almost. The first problem is that they don't turn in the manner of a railway bogie under or a truck in American under a locomotive, but you will see that the wheels are flanged, and the flanges are interleaved. This is technically an interleaved road wheel suspension system. So on every other wheel, you see the flange is either on the outside or the inside. Now there's 2 wheels per axle, shall we say, on the bogie, because there are 2 running surfaces or rails on the track. And if you have a look where the 2 bogies interlap, you can see that if you wanted to pull the lead wheel of the second bogie, you would have to somehow get the flanges past the last wheel of the first bogie. Now, fortunately, the wheels are small enough. Maybe it's possible if you jack up the vehicle that you have an elevation difference that it's not too hard. But still, the Germans are obviously off to a running start with their interleave design process. The other thing you'll note is that the suspension units, the trucks or bogies, are mounted, I wouldn't say fragilely to the superstructure, or vice versa, the superstructure mounted fragilely to the trucks. But you'll see that to drag the trucks along, the bogie shafts aren't all that thick, and there's actually some vertical plates of metal that intermesh so that basically the truck gets dragged along with it. Very weird. The tracks themselves, if you look to the front, that's where your tension idler is, and it's an old-fashioned screw type. If you look at the track links, which are single-piece cast, you're going to see two rails, and each rail is basically the running surface for the metal-on-metal road wheels, or rail wheels, for lack of a better term, which, as I say, is flanged, alternating, in order to keep the bogies on the tracks. As you come around to look at the front of the design, you'll see 3 centimeters worth of frontal armor. The tow hooks, for some reason, are shrouded, and you will also see the combination of rivets and bolts holding the thing together. And exactly why they have the underplate, I really have no idea. The fun bit, however, is actually trying to get into the vehicle. So it's a nice big heavy door, and I did think about putting a couple of handles in, but as you can see, there's no place for your feet, so all you can do is just climb up and in. If you're not 2 meters tall, this could be interesting. So, climbing into the gunner seat. Well, it's a good thing they were short back then. All right, so obviously the first thing I'll have a look at while I'm in here is the front of the vehicle and the gun. The gun is a 5.7 centimeter by Maxim Nordfeld, also known as a Sokol gun. There is a single gunner's position. He controls both traverse and elevation through a single shaft. So elevation is with this one wheel, and traverse is with this other. And obviously, if you're sitting down with your head to the sight, you're going to move your seat along with you, and you'll notice that what I'm sitting on has a set of rollers. So as the gun traverses one way or the other, once the sight gets too far for me to see, the seat will start to traverse alongside it as well. Now the problem is, it seems to only work going one way right now, and the other problem is that we have this diamond plate flooring, and the wheels don't seem to like it very much. Oops. But there's a range reticle for the sight. The sight itself looks forward through the small little slit. Obviously the gunner would have the windows closed. The rounds look more or less like this. So this is a low velocity cannon. Actually, I mean, yeah, they're bigger than the 37 that the French tanks were using. And as a 57, it's the same caliber as the British 6-pounder guns fitted to their tanks, which are also reasonably low velocity. But again, what are you shooting at, and how far are you shooting at them from? The answer is not very much, and not from very far away. So although it's graduated up to just over 4 kilometers, you're never going to be shooting that far. I mean, realistically, what you're shooting at is not very thick. You don't have inches of armor on the other side, and it's probably not very far away. Well, I guess why not have the capability if you have it? And it looks like there's a bit of a cant correction here as well. So, unless it's lead. I don't know, just says right and left. Make it that way you will. All right, and the next thing you're going to see while I'm here are these handholds, because as the tank is lurching around, well, you want to hold on to something. So why not give you handholds? I mean, the idea is simple enough. We use them on buses and trains, so why not use them on these? Now, why they have separation between the roof plate and the roof like this, I'm not entirely sure. Interesting. Okay, now let's go over and have a look at the lights. So with the commander being located up in the cupola, it's pretty hard for them to communicate with folks like the gunners around the vehicle. So what you'll see are these light blocks, and they simply say Achtung and Feuer. That's it. Obviously be prepared and shoot at people. So they're obviously controlled through the central box up top, and every weapon station has one. You see one on top of the machine gun on the left here also. Down underneath the floor plate, there's pretty deep stowage. Looks like maybe half a meter under the floor. And the loader, of course, will be sitting here, sitting on the ammunition. He has the breech operating lever here to his front, to the right of the vertically sliding breech block. More ammunition stowed behind. Now, of course, at this point, you're looking at ammunition for the machine guns in the racks here as well.